this is Richard with richmadeknives.com and wanted to talk a little bit about some Curtis F3 knives and my Curtis knife collection. So this will be a little bit of a review of these knives and talk a little bit about the design, how you might be able to clean them and take them apart if you wanted to, and so forth. So let's get right into it. These knives are made by Curtis Knives, C-U-R-T-I-S-S. These are all his F3 model, and this is representative of all three sizes. So we have a large, we have two mediums, and we have the small. So let's kind of just jump into it and go through these. As you can probably tell, since I own 4 of these Curtis F3s, these are one of my favorite knife makers, and I really like this model. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about each one of them. This first one here is a special design by Curtis. It is called the Evil Bastard. And it is unique. It has a skull logo engraved into this carbon fiber scale. So if you can make it out there, there's the eyes, there's the mouth, there's a little goatee coming down here. And it is a carbon fiber scale, and you can see the carbon fiber on the raised area there. It's designed to be a blackout style. So everything on the knife is just all black. The back is like a dark gray. Has a little bit of wear on it, so the previous owner carried this knife and used it, which I think adds to the character. I did darken up the pocket clip a little bit. So for those you don't know, I'm also a knife customizer, so I have a tendency whenever I get a knife to do a little bit of work to them. Just depends on how much I think that they need. It's got a dark blade that has been tumbled. I did sharpen it and put a new edge on it. It was a little bit on the dull side, so I wanted to give it a good sharp edge, and that's what I did. I didn't go with a high polish on this. I went with a matte edge. I thought it would go a little bit better with the style of this knife rather than putting a kind of a mirror finish. I just went with a brought that down to about a 800 grit edge. It's really, really sharp now. And I think this is a cool knife. This is the medium size. It's about a 3 1/4 inch blade. And I think it's a really cool knife. The pivot looks awesome. It's a dark, worn out look, and this one flips great. It's one of the things I like about the Curtis knives is they flip really, really well. Very easy to flip. So that's my first medium. Second medium is this one here. And this one is really neat because it's a worn out, kind of a nuked type finish. So it's a dark, probably was originally a sandblast finish and then tumbled after that. So it's got a lot of scratch tumble marks in there, which looks really neat. Pivot is interesting because the round part here is a satin finish with the dark tumbled in the center. Very similar finish on the back. Again, I darkened up this pocket clip a little bit. And this has a really interesting looking blade. It's a Wharncliffe. So you see two different blade styles here. This one is more like a spear point or a drop point, and this is a Wharncliffe. And this is more of a rough finish. It was probably etched and then scrubbed off so that you get this battle look worn finish, which I think looks really neat. This had a quite interesting edge on it when I got it. It was, you see the edge is not uniform, and it was quite a bit less uniform even than it is now when I got it. But I thought that it kind of went well with this really handmade looking style. So what I did is, this didn't have much of a sharp edge on it at all. So what I did is I went ahead and gave it a nice bevel. I think it came out really good. Get it to focus here. And I put a pretty good edge on there. This is at about 25 degrees, and gave it a nice polish to it. I think the edge matches the style of the knife really well. It kind of matches the swedge on the top here, so you can see if I can get it to focus here. You can see how nice the top and the bottom edge meet up there at the point. And now it's wicked sharp, slices through paper, phone book paper, no problem. And this knife is very unique in that this has a very thick blade. Curtis blades, F3s, are generally, the blade width is always the same. And this is a unique one-off that Curtis did with a extra thick blade. So I don't know if you can really tell, hard to tell the difference there in photos, but this one on the left here has a much thicker blade than this one. You can probably see it there up by the pivot. So that's something that makes this particular knife very unique. I don't know how many other blades Curtis has done with, how many other knives Curtis has done with this really thick blade, but it really makes it unique. It's a big beefy blade, and I think it makes it look really neat. You also get, because the blade is thicker, you've got more space between the standoffs, and it's got a pretty neat looking backspacer. This one does two different backspacer styles. Let's see if I can put them side by side here. You can probably see the one on the top is thicker than the one on the bottom. Different backspacer designs. Same pocket clip style. I did take this one apart and clean it because it was all gummed up inside of here and it wasn't flipping very well. So I took this apart and I cleaned all the IKBS. All of his knives are IKBS bearing system, which for those you don't know IKBS, you can do a Google search on it, but it's loose ball bearings inside of here, and so you got to be real careful when you work on those. Also, Curtis has a very unique pivot system here that can be a little tricky. You don't want to mess up and mar up his finish there. So what I'd recommend is get yourself a really thick flat blade screwdriver that fits into this opening really well, and then wrap that screwdriver with some masking tape so that when you put it in there and turn it, it doesn't scratch up the finish. This was already scratched up a little bit when I got it. Probably the previous owner had opened this, but that's the way that I would recommend being able, like this one, you'll notice this is, I did open this one up and clean it out as well, so they ride really nice once you get the bearings all cleaned up and re-oiled and everything. So this one flips really nice now. It doesn't flip quite as fast as that one, probably due to the thicker blade, but it does flip really, really nice. So that's another medium, a very unique design with a thick blade. And then we'll go into the small. This is a small Curtis F3. And this one flips really well. Flips really nice. It's got an interesting blade design. It's a two-tone, etched and stone-washed on the swedge at top and bottom, and then satin on the flats. And it had a really nice edge. I didn't resharpen this one because it came wicked sharp with a really nice uniform looking edge, about a medium cut on the edge there. When I got this one, it was just a natural silver handle, silver finish handle, and I decided I wanted to add a little bit of color to this. So I took this apart, not because it needed to be cleaned, because this was darn near a brand new knife, but because I wanted to give some color to the handle. So I took this apart and I gave it a dark bronze, just went right to the edge before you start getting a little bit of that bluish purplish color coming in. So when you add some finger oil in here, you start to see a little bit of the blue just on the edge coming through, which I think looks kind of neat. And then it came from Curtis with a satin finish on the edges, which I left, and you'll see that looks really nice with the dark bronze finish there. So it's a really neat looking knife, and the color, I think, when you give it some finger oil, it starts to bring some of the color through, which looks really cool. And then depending on the lighting, it can actually start to look, have a little bit of purplish hue to it. So that is the Curtis Small, and I'll put it next to the medium so you can see the difference in size. This one is a 2.75 inch blade, and this one is a 3.25 inch blade. So this is a really small, easy to carry, and then this one is kind of right in the middle. This is my favorite size. I think this medium size is really just about perfect for an everyday carry. And this is a really neat little knife. And then to top it all off here, we have one of his larges. This is a large Curtis F3, very unique design. So what we have here is a sandblast on these this matte area, and then a bronze in the flats underneath it here. So you kind of end up with a unique, almost like a giraffe looking pattern. And this is a Wharncliffe. This knife is relatively brand new. I didn't make any changes to this whatsoever. I didn't touch the edge. It came wicked sharp. It's got a perfect edge, fairly compact edge on there. It's got a beautiful light etch and a tumble on the blade. Came that way from Curtis, and I think it looks really nice. He's got his logos on there in silver. And yeah, this has never been opened, and no modifications whatsoever. And this is just an awesome knife. So let me put all these side by side here so you can kind of get an idea of the size difference. We'll put them in order here from largest to small. So this is the large, two mediums, and a small. The large knife is awesome. I like this design the best of all three of these. I mean, this is about as custom gets with this pattern he's got here on the handle. This really dark finish on the pivot, which is just awesome. And then this light etched stonewashed blade with the Wharncliffe styling, the aggressive jimping here on the top, similar aggressive jimping on the gold back, the bronze backspacer, which looks really cool. And this thing just fires like a rocket due to large blade and the gigantic flipper tab here. I mean, look at that thing. It's just crazy big. Just effortlessly flies open. I mean, it requires almost no loading of the flipper tab. It just flies open. This thing is just awesome. It's a big knife. It's a beefy knife. You'll notice this sucker in your pocket. This is a 4-inch blade, by the way. So it's just a monster blade. I think this one is technically considered a 3.5-inch blade, but I measured from the front here to the end of the tip, and it's really 3 1/4. But I think this is considered a 3.5-inch blade spec-wise, but I find it more like a 3 1/4. And size-wise, this size to me is just perfect. This Evil Bastard one is awesome. This is a carbon fiber, and it's similar to Hinderer in that it's a carbon fiber scale with a thin titanium liner on the carbon fiber side, and then a full titanium on the lock bar side. And this is a really cool knife. Picked this up secondhand. All these I picked up secondhand, but this one was brand new. These two were used, and this one really was, for the most part, brand new. I don't think this was ever used or carried, if much, if at all. These two had some use on them. You could tell they were carried. These two needed a good cleaning. So I opened them up, took the bearings out, cleaned them really well, oiled it all back up again. And these two both needed sharpening. So I put brand new edges on both of these and sharpened them up really, really nice. So they're super sharp. Kept the edge on this one nice and tight, which is similar to the style it had before. And now it flips really well. I got the pivots all Loctited up, so they're good to go. And these are great, ready to be carried now. And this one is just so cool. That blade is just awesome. That hand finished rubbed blade with the uneven Wharncliffe style going on there, which is similar to the way it looked when I got it. And I wanted to retain that. Like, just came out of somebody's shop who was, this style is like, I'm just going to make a really badass knife that that looks like it was just, you know, found under a rock somewhere. And that's the style of this knife. It's just a badass style. And it flips like a rocket too. It's got a big, beefy, thick blade, which I think Curtis very rarely does. So this has got some serious uniqueness to it. And just an awesome knife. And then my first little small Curtis F3. Got this because I wanted to try it out. Got it at a really sweet deal off of one of the forums. Thank you to the gentleman who sold this to me for giving me a really great deal on it. It was all silver, as I mentioned, and gave it this unique bronze finish. And it was already tumbled, so I didn't have to tumble it. All I did was anodize it, and I brought it right to the edge of bronze to where any higher voltage and we would have went into purple. So I just pushed it as far as I could push it. And when you do that, it brings out hints of the next color, and you add some finger oil and it really brings it out, and then you give it into different light and you get some colors coming through, which I think looks really neat. And given how small this little Curtis is, it flips really nice. It's smooth. Since I had to take it apart to do the anodization, I went ahead and gave a nice oil inside there, oiled it up really well, put all the IKBS bearings back in, put the pivot back in, and Loctited it. So got it to where it's flipping about as smooth as you could ever ask for it. It's got a good size flipper tab. So if you're looking for if you're into flippers and you want a really small flipper that flips really nice, and maybe you'll just drop right into your pocket and you'll never know it's there. This small Curtis F3 is just a great way to go. So this is the current state of my Curtis collection. One of my favorite knife makers, one of my favorite designs, and would love to get more of these. May look for some of his other models. He makes a model called the Cruise, which I'd love to get one of those. But I love the F3s, love the style, love the fact that all of these are slightly different. We have the large with this very unique pattern on it, with just an awesome looking blade. The Evil Bastard with the skull logo engraved into the carbon fiber, all blacked out, tumbled blade, just awesome. And I already talked about this one. It's just a badass knife. And then the little one. So that is my collection of Curtis F3s. My name is Richard. I am a knife customizer, also a knife collector. If you have a knife that you would like to have customized, you can reach me at richard@richmadeknives.com. Please visit our website at richmadeknives.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.